Good evening and welcome to the 20th Annual Young Writers Awards. We are delighted to welcome to the virtual podium Library Trustee Susan L. Robbins.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks very much. Hello, all. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our 20th Annual Young Writers Awards. We welcome our honorees, their families and friends to the New York Society Library. I'm Susan Robbins, a trustee of the library and chair of the Children's Committee. Tonight, we honor excellence in writing. The writing by 3rd through 12th graders who are library members, as well as students at our 100 Project Cicero donor schools. This year, we received 344 entries from 27 schools. From among those entries, we are honoring tonight 12 young writers. We have 8 winners and 4 honorable mentions. The Children's Library Committee created the Young Writers Awards in order to inspire reading and writing among our young writers. And for 20 years, we have accomplished our mission. The New York Society Library was founded in 1754 by a small group of young professionals who believed that the availability of books would help the community prosper. We are the oldest cultural institution in New York City, and we served as the first Library of Congress when New York City was the capital of the United States. George Washington, John Adams, Alexander Hamilton all borrowed our books. The library continues this tradition of civic responsibility and commitment to literacy, and among its many, many other activities, in 2001, the library helped found Project Cicero, an organization with which many of you are familiar. Through its annual book drives at 100 schools, Project Cicero has placed more than 4 million books in New York City public school classrooms and libraries. We were thrilled that we were able to complete our 22nd annual book drive this April in person, lots of masks, but in person. 900 teachers selected over 100,000 books to take home to their schools. The library has hundreds of authors among its members. They research and write their books in the library. Long ago, Edgar Allan Poe and Ralph Waldo Emerson lectured here. Herman Melville and Willa Cather borrowed our books. Ronald Dow and Richard Peck were members, as are many, many award-winning children's, young adult, and adult authors. We hope that all of you winners and honorable mentions and all of you who sent us entries, those 344 entries, will follow in their footsteps. We hope you also follow in the footsteps of our wonderful, accomplished, and terrific judges. We hope those of you who haven't been to the library previously will visit us. We're open. It's a very special place. The Young Writers Awards would not happen each year without the leadership of our terrific Randy Levy, who's head of the Children's Library, as well as children and young adult librarian Susan Vincent Molinari. They work with the members of the Children's Committee to read each entry, all 344 of them, 3 times before submitting their top entries in each category to the judges for final decisions. A special thanks tonight for Sarah Holliday, head of events, who you met earlier this evening, who created the word cloud that you're seeing on your screen. It includes the most used words in the titles of these 344 entries. The larger the word appears on the image, the more often it was used in the titles of the entries. Before having the privilege of introducing our judges tonight, I do want to take a moment to remember Jeanette Wagner, who passed away this last February. Together with her husband, Dr. Wagner, she was a longtime supporter of the Young Writers Awards and the New York Society Library. She attended our awards reception every year for many, many years. I attended her memorial service last week, and it was very special to hear about her many accomplishments. She was born to Armenian immigrants. She was a dancer. She was a journalist. She was an editor and a businesswoman who helped open international markets for Estee Lauder, including those in Russia and China. It was really a fascinating description. We'll miss her very much, and we wanted to note her passing tonight. But now I have the privilege of introducing our 4 very special judges. For 20 years, Dave Johnson has judged 3rd and 4th grade and 5th and 6th grade poetry. Dave is the author of Marble Shoot and the editor of teen poetry anthology Moving. He's on the MFA faculty at the New School and teaches at universities, schools, and libraries throughout the country, including our New York Society Library, Yale, and the Cooper Union. He also serves as poet in residence at the Department of Probation for the City of New York. But he's currently, and it's fascinating, researching women artists of the Italian Renaissance with the master's program in Italian Renaissance art history in Florence. We have a new judge this year, and we're delighted that she's joining us, Karina Jan Glazer. She's going to judge our 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade prose. This is, as I say, Ms. Glazer's first year as a judge. We're delighted she's joining our distinguished panel of judges, and we hope she lasts as long as they did. She is contributing editor at Book Riot, where she writes a weekly Kids Are All Right newsletter and book recommendations. She reads 300 children's books a year. So she beats us all out in that category. She's the author and illustrator of the 5-book Vanderbeekers series, including the Vanderbeekers and the Hidden Garden, that won the New York Society Library New York City Book Awards, I think last year. And her most recent book is a duet for home, which is set in New York City family shelter. For 18 years, Carol Weston has judged 7th and 8th grade poetry and prose. She's the author of many, many, many books for children and teens, including the most recent, The Speed of Life and the Ava and Pip series. In addition, she's the advice columnist for Girls Life magazine, helping girls navigate tricky situations. She leads the Society Library's monthly prompt sessions for our community of writers. For 20 years, Ed Zisk has judged our 9 through 12 poetry and prose. Ms. Zisk is an essayist, novelist, and writing teacher whose books include Acceptable Losses, A Cold Spring, and The Trespasser. She's the recipient of a fiction fellowship from the National Endowment for the Arts and a fiction fellowship from the New York Foundation for the Arts. Unfortunately, Ms. Zisk is unable to join us tonight, and Randy Levy will present her awards, but our other 3 judges are here tonight from as far away as Florence, and so we're delighted to welcome them, and we thank them once again. They are our most important part other than the entries of this event, and we really appreciate all of their enthusiasm and hard work and helpfulness. So thank you as always, judges. We congratulate everybody who's here this evening, and we congratulate those who entered a prose or a poetry, but now it's time to get started. So I'm going to offer you Dave Johnson to present 3rd and 4th grade and 5th and 6th grade poetry, and I hope you all have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Susan. And I want to thank the New York Society Library for the last 20 years of asking me to be involved in this project. I always know that spring has arrived, as we always seem to say each season, but it is really true. And this spring, very special for me because I'm in Italy studying and writing over here this year. And so I'm so grateful and happy to be able to also be a part of the program this evening, live midnight from here in Florence. I want to begin by just saying to the 344 young folks who entered the contest this evening that, especially for the guys, the young ladies who did not win, that you are winners for writing. You are winners for being a part of this project. You're winners for being a part of the New York Society Library. And if it's any consolation, I've been at this writing game now for about 35 years. And I didn't win any prize at all of any sort until I was about 27 or 28 years old. So you got a little time. You got a little time. I certainly was not writing at the level you guys are writing at, 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade. So these entries were incredible to read. I really enjoyed them. And I will say that there was a very, very difficult decision. But we will start with the 3rd and 4th grade. The first, as you see on the screen, Untitled, honorable mention goes to Cia Gonzalez. And I'd just like to say a word about this untitled poem was about a clock, and it was the way Sia saw this clock as a personified, as like a human working 24 hours and never getting a break, and asking the clock, does the clock enjoy it? Or does he like to work? Or does it just warm his heart to get watched? Oh, clock, will anyone ever know? It's a beautiful, beautiful poem. And the winner for the third and fourth grade, Joshua KURUVILLA, who I think was also a winner last season as well. This poem was called The Unknown. And this one is a really special poem for me because it's one of my own obsessions, especially here in Italy. This poem was about football players, as we say here, or soccer players, as we say in the States, and not about the big ones that we all know in La Liga or the Premier League, as Joshua says, or Bundesliga or Ligue 1, or the Serie A here in Italy. But those guys who play for small sides in little clubs, like the little village of Derry City, he says, or they're substitutes in the J League over in Japan, and they never get recognition. And he called them the unknowns. And it's a beautiful poem about honoring those that we never really get a chance to honor. And I thought it was just a magnificent poem. So congratulations to Joshua as the winner for the third and fourth grade poetry. In the fifth and sixth grade category, the honorable mention goes to Sophie Krupp for a beautifully written poem, Those Last Words on Thanksgiving Night. And it's a poem between a grandfather and a granddaughter. It's a beautiful, touching and loving poem about those final words between two folks. And as we said, you can see that this was one of those celebration poems. And Thanksgiving, of course, is a very special holiday, probably the most American of all holidays. And it was just a beautifully written poem. So congratulations to Sophie for that poem. And finally, the winner in our fifth and sixth grade poetry category this evening is by Anna Sedlak-Reiner, and it's called Renewal. And this poem has a lovely flow to it. It works in sort of a mysterious way. It goes from long line, short line, and it mimics, in a sense, the tide, the small waves, and the language floats as it goes. She says, it floats along the lightly sleeping ocean and slips neatly onto shore. Beautifully, beautifully written poem. And so congratulations to Anna as the winner for the fifth and sixth grade poetry. And again, I would just want to say congratulations to all the writers and to all the folks that are here tonight. And a big thank you not only to all of the librarians who put so much work into this program, but a big thank you to everyone who's here this evening, both friends and family. This is such a big moment in the lives of these young artists, and we really do hope and know that someday soon that their books will be a part of the New York Society Library too. So thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. We will now welcome to the virtual podium Karina Jan Glazer, who will present awards for prose from third and fourth grades and fifth and sixth grades.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am so thrilled to be a part of this event and to be judging for the first year. I have a deep fondness for the library and have written a lot of my books at the library. So I'm very honored. And I wanted to echo Dave Johnson's thoughts about writing. And hopefully there are some people here who have participated and might not have won an award, but I was really blown away by the entries that I read. I wish that I had the opportunity to give many more awards than I was allowed to. And I think, writing is really an act of bravery. It really is hard to write something and to pour your heart into something and to share it with others. So I congratulate everyone who put in an entry, regardless of whether you were given an award or not, because truly it was very difficult to decide. And I am very honored to have been able to read your entries, and I'm excited to talk about the winners. For third through fourth grade prose, I am so happy to announce that Parker Anderson wrote an incredible story called The Table Naming. I am really blown away by this story because in a matter of just a handful of paragraphs, Parker was able to write an intergenerational story about a table that was first brought into his family with his great aunt. And the story has a really special origin and has, to this day, still been in his family, is now in his grandmother's house. And Parker has named it Fred, which I love that name. I think it's really cool. And I just love how he wove the table into his family and celebrating his family and the love and community between them. His last paragraph reads, "Now that I am 10 years old, I now know the important parts of the story, like how old the table is and why he is important to my family. Every time I visit my grandma, I eat at the ancient table. I eat with Fred and think about all the people who we met and all the stories Fred has to tell." And I think it is amazing that at your age, Parker, that you can see the significance that an item, an object can have in telling your family history. So congratulations, Parker. The winner or the honorable mention for 5th, 6th grade prose is Elizabeta Uvienko. This story was really lovely. It's called The Birthday, and it is told in alternating perspectives. And that is not an easy thing to do. So it's about two kids who are turning 13. It's both of their birthdays. And they have very different experiences of their birthdays based on their families. But one thing that ties them together is their shared experience of celebrating in a beautiful way their birthdays, regardless of their situation. And I think Elizabeta did a wonderful job just seeing different sides of a story, but also connecting them. And that is very difficult to do. And it's a beautiful story and very beautifully written. And the winner of 5-6 prose is Neva Ilika, called The True Meaning of Home. And this is really a gorgeous story about home. And if you know me, you know that I really love writing about home and the meaning of home. So this story really stuck with me. And for Neva, home is the country of Turkey. And I loved the way she described Turkey, the community there, her family there. And of course, I always love reading about people who enjoy food, which sounds like Neva really appreciates food and enjoys it. And she writes, "I've also realized that if I'm ever talking about Turkish culture, it is truly impossible to finish my sentence without saying Turkish food. After a long day of school or a very special occasion like Ramadan, Turkish food is always comforting no matter what day it is. And I love that. She also writes, I often think about what makes Turkish food seem so different from any other cuisines I've tried, and I've decided it's the love my grandma and my mom put into it. And I just love that. And I think that is so true. When you eat something that is made with love, it has a special something that you can't get from everyday food. So congratulations, Neva.
Thank you so much, Ms. Glazer. We now have with us Carol Weston to present the awards for poetry and prose to 7th and 8th graders.
I'm so glad to be here, even though here is around the world for us. But it's just wonderful that we are among people who love words and love books and love to write. And whether or not you become a writer, it's going to serve you so well if you make the effort to keep writing as well as you're writing. It's just a wonderful gift. We all use words to express ourselves, and you use them so well. I'm not surprised that there were 344 entries. I had a really tough time choosing among all the submissions that I had. I do have a soft spot for dandelions. So the poem that I'm honoring with the first prize goes to GRAYDON RAMSEY. The first sentence is, I am a dandelion. And I'm going to read you 4 other sentences. My cat is going to meow, perhaps. Sorry about that. A child is looming. He is tall as a giant. He picks me out of the ground. I am defiant. Later, I had no defense and off my seeds flew. They are on their own, ready to start anew. I thought that was really excellent capturing of, can you believe this? I'm like, this happens in Zooms, and now it's happened to me. It's really great how we don't know, are dandelions weeds and do we want to get rid of them? Or are they beautiful and defiant and they're going to keep going anyway? I brought, this is the prop I meant, not my cat. That basically you pluck a dandelion and it's just going to ready to start anew. So I thought that GRAYDON did a really wonderful job in a sonnet, no less, of capturing all that it is to be that humble, little, persistent, beautiful flower. With the prose, I was torn. There were so many delicious entries. In fact, Karina's talking about the food of different lands. There was one about tiramisu in Italy, one about savoring the snails in that was the taste of the snails. There was one about somebody trapped in a bookstore. There was a student who befriended a jazz great at the Frick. There was a girl who switched schools. There was a girl who was suddenly noticing that she was putting on weight. So very middle school. I know that is Dear Carol. And it was really hard to pick. But Ella KINI did just a masterful job of a monologue about an unlikely, surprising connection between the beautiful sort of popular girl and the narrator who doesn't feel as special. So I'm going to read you the very first line. You're perfect, aren't you, Kimi Bell? Every feature sculpted with the gentle hand of Donatello, hair so long and blonde, earrings dangling proudly. And you think you know where she's going because she's really looking up to Kimi Bell, some envy, some wistfulness, but at the end, I don't want to spoil it for you. This will encourage you to read it on your own at some point. But there's a wonderful twist at the end when Kimi Bell leaves a classroom and nobody else is around, and she glides down the slew of steps. I love that, the slew of steps. My miraculous princess. We go to the very end, and Kimi Bell and our narrator kiss. It's taboo, it's surprising, it's realistic, it's relatable. And the very last line is, I love you and you love me too. So it's this clandestine, but absolutely relatable middle school. I don't know if it's romance or more, but I just thought that Ella KINI, you did a great job with that. So congratulations. You get the honorable mention. And I gave the winning prize to Cassidy Aiken. Now, her wonderful essay doesn't have the plot or the twist, but it does such an extraordinary job of describing a place. And that's really hard. I find it hard as a professional writer to describe a place and not bore you. You know, dialogue can be a little easier, conflict can be easier, but Cassidy just immersed herself in what she calls her favorite place on earth. In fact, she repeats, "This is my favorite place on earth. This is my favorite place on earth." And later she uses repetition again. Usually we teachers, educators say, you know, be careful of repeating, but if you can break a rule and get away with it, that's great. So she talks about it. I'm going to read not her first or second paragraph, but I'm going to bear with me as I read the third paragraph aloud because it made me laugh, and I hope it will make you laugh, but because I'm alone with my cat, I don't know if you'll be laughing. I hope so. Here we go. They're in Ireland. My uncle showed us this game that we would always play in the car. It was called My Cows. The rules of the game were simple. When you see a cow or a herd of cows, you say, "My cows," and those cows are now yours. It goes on like this until you see a graveyard. You then call out, "Graveyard," and this kills everyone's cows. This game works especially well in Ireland because of its abundance of cows and its abundance of graveyards. When we drove in between towns, we would accumulate tons of cows. But once we made it to a town, it was a cow massacre. Every town in Ireland has at least one church, and every church in Ireland has a graveyard. So she had me hooked. But we haven't even gotten to the lake yet. We don't get to the lake yet until the second page. And then Cassidy walks in with her wellies. She writes wellies are basically rain boots with a better name. And she's wondering if it's okay that she's getting wet, but too late, she's gotten wet. And she just has one of those moments a perfect moment that, you know, we all have now and again, but not very often, where she's just sort of at one with nature and at one with her heritage and her grandparents, and the lake is so clear and she feels like she's inside a painting and she's just loving it. And she's not even fully aware that her family has taken photos of her and they're going to call her ever after the Lady of the Lake, which is the title of this poem. I mean, sorry, it feels like a poem. It's prose, but she has forever. Ireland will be for her the Lady of the Lake. And I think when I think of Ireland, I'm going to think about the lake and the ripples she makes and how it feels like a painting. So I just thought she did a great job, Cassidy. And but as the other judges have said, everybody who's listening, you are all winners. You all care about the sound of words, you know about the power of words, and you're already so far ahead of the game if you understand that as a child or young adult. So congratulations to everybody, and thank you for letting me be part of it.
Thank you, Ms. Weston. Now, Randy Levy, head of the Children's Library, will share remarks from Judge Edra Zisk about poetry and prose winners in grades 9 through 12.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Edra was very sorry not to be able to join us on Zoom this evening, but she did provide me with her statement that she would have shared if she were here this evening. So I'm reading as if I am Edra. I want to thank all of you who entered your work in this year's Young Writers Awards. We had a record number of entries this year, and it's exciting that so many of you are writing. We love reading your work and look forward to seeing what you do next. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you today, but I hope by next year we'll all be able to gather together again at the library. The award ceremony always feels like the kickoff to summer, a mark your calendar event we all look forward to. As always, I felt privileged to read your work, to see what you're thinking about, perhaps struggling to make sense of. Writing is helpful for that, a way of clarifying things for ourselves and for our readers. I think that's true of the two pieces I chose as the winners of the 9th through 12th grade category. In her piece, A Language Unspoken, the winner in the prose category, Inika Agrawal, works through her feelings of separation from her grandmother, with whom she's not able to communicate as she doesn't speak Hindi and her grandmother doesn't speak English. She feels estranged both from her grandmother and from an important part of her identity, and is by turns frustrated that she can't speak with her beloved grandmother and angry that she hasn't been taught Hindi, until she realizes there are other kinds of language, other ways to speak to the people we love. Though I never entirely overcame the language barrier, I overcame its importance, she says. I especially liked Inika's honesty in exploring the subject and its various ramifications until she, and we, her readers, arrive at the realization that the love she and her grandmother have for each other is visible, even if it isn't spoken. The winner in poetry, SOLEIL WIZMAN, for her poem, To Disappear, also deals with the difficulty of communicating with a grandmother, though in this case, it's the pain of watching her grandmother disappear because of dementia. I love how she begins the poem with the apricot scent of her grandmother's perfume. My grandmother has worn the same perfume all her life. She envelops her skin in apricots languished by the summer sun, then ends with, till she is nothing but dust and apricots in the air. The two mentions of the perfume frame the poem, the scent lingering in the air and in our minds as we read the poem. Congratulations to Inika and SOLEIL and to everyone who submitted their writing. I hope you'll keep writing and submitting, and I hope to see you in person next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Edra. We will now welcome to the stage children's and young adult librarian Susan Vincent Molinaro to lead a special congratulations for our winners.
Hello. To those who received an award this year, I congratulate you on this achievement. But I also want to take a moment to recognize and honor all of the young writers who participated in this competition this year, whether you won an award or not. To every enthusiastic young writer who submitted an essay, a story, or a poem, thank you for sharing your words with us. Please continue to express yourself and to share your creativity with the world through your writing. Now we come to the moment when you can unmute and give every young writer here a big echoing round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan Vincent. I think that we now have with us Carolyn Waters, the library's head librarian, to conclude our ceremony.
Hi, everyone. I want to echo everyone who has come before me in the program to congratulate all of the honorees and winners and let you know that you will all be receiving gift certificates from bookshop.org. We're all so very proud of you. Please keep writing. You're all so very talented and your work is already on our website. So I fully expect, as Dave mentioned, that we will see the fruits of your future writing endeavors on our library shelves. So I want to take this moment also to thank everyone involved in making the awards happen. To Randy Levy and Susan Vincent Molinaro, the maestros of this whole program, to Susan Robbins and the entire Children's Library Committee for reading and reviewing all of the entries, to our fabulous judges, Dave Johnson, Carol Weston, Karina Jan Glazer, and Edra Zisk for picking the winners, to Sarah Holliday and Marie Louisa Munda for orchestrating tonight's online event, And to the memory of Jeanette Sarkisian-Wagner and Paul Wagner, who continue to make the awards possible through their financial support. It was wonderful to have you all join us for the ceremony. This concludes the presentation, but I want to remind all of the Zoom attendees to please remain online to meet the author judges in breakout rooms. Thank you again for coming, and have a good night.